Cheese, ketchup, and mustard will soon be delivered out of DeKalb as Kraft Heinz plans to build one of its largest distribution centers in the city.
Yeah, 23 News reporter Alyssa Reamer learns more about why DeKalb is a hot spot and what Rockford economic developers do to try and attract companies here.
DeKalb sees another large investment as construction gets underway for the 775,000 square foot Kraft Heinz distribution center. This adds to the existing Amazon facility and metadata center in the area.
I feel some pride that they would look at DeKalb with all the thousands of communities they could have looked at in the upper Midwest.
The Kraft Heinz company says in a statement it chose DeKalb because it's located off a major interstate, allowing the company to access the national railway system, a strong labor market, and the property tax abatement and incentive package.
They're all essential pieces, and if you're checking a box, this place over that place, those are things you want to look at.
All of these developments in DeKalb have Rock River region leaders pushing harder to attract companies using more than social media.
We market through geofencing, different locations. We received some leads from a software program that we work with.
Growth Dimensions Economic Development in Belvedere has an enterprise incentive program that allows businesses to save on construction.
Available to businesses that are looking to build or expand or improve their assessment value.
Boone County leaders say they work directly with investors, from connecting them to potential customers to helping work out their problems.
Because if they're successful, then so is the community.
Working for you in the state line, Alyssa Reamer, 23 News.
Construction will be complete in 2025.
And leaders there say the facility will be one of the biggest in North America, distributing more than 60% of Kraft Heinz products throughout the country.